Some parents battle between sending their children to daycare or staying at home because of how much it costs.
News 4's Brittany Smallwood takes a look at why it's so expensive and whether it's effective.
Tiffany Narad has twin 10-month-old daughters. She and her husband pay $20,000 a year in childcare, and that's with a discount.
With daycare, we were hoping to find something cheaper than $20,000 a year, but it is what it is. I would rather be satisfied with the place that I have my kids, knowing that they'll be taken care of.
The cost of daycare in Western New York varies. For one infant, it costs parents $840 a month to send their child to daycare at Little People Park in Buffalo. That comes to $10,080 a year. At the Jewish Community Center in Buffalo, it costs nearly $1,400 a month and $16,440 a year.
It's a very rich program.
Barbara Stone Redden is the director of Early Childhood Services at JCC. She says the cost of daycare is higher at her facility because they have more staff per child. The state requires one staff member for every 4 infants. They have 1 adult for every 3 infants. They also start teaching the curriculum as early as 6 weeks old.
Here at the JCC, we beat those ratios every time. The reason for that is partly so that we can work with the children individually and in small groups, and we can be much more responsive to the children.
The Department of Health and Human Services considers childcare affordable if it consumes 10% or less of a family's income. The CEO of the Child Care Resource Network has seen worse figures in Western New York. She says the cost of early childcare is taking a toll on many local families.
This is a very critical issue, and we know that working families are just strapped. And, the expense of childcare can take up to 50% of a family's income. For low-income families, it can be up to 75%.
Many families are strapped, and so are some daycare employees. The Economic Policy Institute states many childcare workers in the U.S. aren't paid enough to make ends meet. It says the median hourly wage is $10.31. Redden at the JCC says some of her employees make a little more or a little less than that. It depends on their position.
Our budget for early childhood, about 65% of what we charge goes just to pay staff. Okay, and I wish it was more.
Polano says childcare operators are caught between a rock and a hard place. She says they have to pay for a number of regulatory expenses like background checks, fingerprinting, and training. Then, with the low wages, there's high staff turnover, so employees have to start all over again. She says between the salaries and annual expenses, operators are stuck in a catch-22.
All of those things are expensive, and when there's a high staff turnover, which there tends to be in certain child care centers because of the low pay, which is very unfortunate, but what we're seeing then is that there are perhaps doubled costs because the more turnover in staff, the more expensive all those fingerprinting and background check and other expenses are.
Polano says companies may see less turnover if employees could be paid more. As for parents trying to decide which daycare is best, child care advocates say the most important thing is that children are cared for by qualified individuals, whether it's at a licensed daycare center or home. Many teachers in Buffalo and Amherst agree. If a child gets early education, it makes a difference in their ability to learn when they get to kindergarten or first grade.
And I think the educational point of it, they're a little more advanced because they've had a little more time in a classroom. They've had that structure of, letters and number sense, things like that.
One local mother who has twins went a different route. She was able to find childcare that worked for her and cut some of the costs. I'll explain what she did online at WIVB.com. Reporting in the newsroom, Brittany Smallwood, News 4.